currently ranked 9th in the NCAA at the 4x1500 from the Raleigh relays back in March. So we are gun up, and we'll tell you a little bit about who the field is as we go. So last year's winning time, 16:19 from Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State not here to defend, but there is quite a history here. Syracuse running third here last year and then going on to win their first NCAA Division I cross-country title in the fall. So that bodes well for teams that finish well here today. Minnesota finishing last year in sixth, not in this field as well. So it really drops down. Not a lot of last year's top returnees are here. As we said, Eastern Michigan currently ranked number 9th, but I think what that means more than anything is that a lot of these teams just haven't run this race or the equivalent 4x1500 yet. There aren't too many meets that have it.
There aren't really a lot on the schedule that have this at all. And you know, I will be honest, there are some coaches that use this as a fitness test. Where are my athletes? You're going to be running 3 events at Drake Relays or 4 events at Drake Relays, and so you're expected to come out here and perform even in these 4x2s and 4x8s and these events that you probably don't see at conference and otherwise. But it's a great opportunity for coaches to really put their athletes to the test, the mental test of every single day. You got to get ready and you got to get up.
And so far, this entire pack right together. Here in the early going, Eastern Michigan now challenging on the outside. We're going to try to identify that lead runner. Eastern Michigan now in front. See Minnesota in third. Eastern starting to inch it away. Outstanding track and cross country tradition there at Eastern Michigan University. Coach Bob Parks for many decades had great teams, and now it's under the helm of John Goodridge, who has continued to have great success, particularly with his cross country and distance athletes. And they're out in front. They're ahead of Minnesota. Right now, Eastern and Minnesota. But that pack is really shuffling in there. Many changes of who is anywhere from 3rd to 12th in that pack.
They are, and again, I think we'll see in these next few laps, it's starting to thin out a little bit, and each team exert themselves a little bit differently here to get in a better position. But no one's content to do anything right now. I always feel like in these early races, they just feel it out, see where they are.
It's DePaul on the outside. There we go. I wasn't able to identify them with that black uniform. It is Eastern Michigan and DePaul. And Illinois State challenging Eastern Michigan. So they've had a fine performance in both genders. Now Minnesota, speaking of both genders performing well, Minnesota to the front. I think so.
And again, with this first exchange coming up, they want to be in great position. This is when you're going to see this turnover, them picking it up, because they want to be in a prime position. Minnesota not leaving it till the end here, really trying to put the second runner in the best transition possible.
And they are in a full sprint just about here as we head in. Minnesota and Wisconsin, the Big Ten well represented out in front. Illinois State and Eastern Michigan will get an unofficial split here from Minnesota. Just right around 4:10.6, so a very solid time.
Again, all 3 schools from what I saw, fine transition. I'm not going to be picky and pick them apart, but again, put them in a position to really run and get it in a great situation these next couple laps. These athletes, again, are going to get comfortable. They're going to get in, see where they fit in, and it's not going to be until these next couple laps that we see many of these changes in position.
DePaul has bounced from front to back to right now leading the chase pack in 5th. Actually 6th they are, as Minnesota and Wisconsin shoulder to shoulder, just ahead of Illinois State and Eastern Michigan, and then a new 5th place team.
Minnesota with O'Brien, Wisconsin running Ramos, Illinois State in that 3rd spot. They've got Kyle Mattis on the 3rd leg. And lead the group of 5 right now. Minnesota.
They're racing. They're not hanging back and pacing this to see. They're going after it right now.
No, absolutely. This pack of 5 is doing a really fine job of keeping this race pace honest. And again, Minnesota leading the charge here. We just saw their women win their 7th title.
Interestingly enough, though, they're being caught by 4. That chase pack working a little bit harder, and it seems right after I complimented them, and you did too, that the pace slowed down. And Minnesota and Wisconsin out in front put the brakes on a little bit, and then everybody getting back in it. That's dangerous.
That is dangerous, but it makes our job as broadcasters even that more colorful, might I say.
Yes, it does. As much as I hate to be wrong, I'm enjoying the race here. They're not pulling away. They are bunching together. And now DePaul getting back into that mix in the black with the white headband on. But sort of the one constant here after the early going is Minnesota out in front.
Yes. And I'm sure they saw what their women did. I'm sure they all know about the legacy. And they're not going to leave anything on the table at this point.
I think part of what you said may also be true here. Some of these are 3K, 5K people coming down. Some of them are the 1,500 and mile specialists. A few of them may be 800 runners who are being asked to do something they normally don't do.
Yes.
So that therein the danger lies. You don't know who has the strength to keep going. You don't know who has that blazing kick back there, because not all these teams see each other all the time.
No, they all have different specialties. I think you hit that on the head. One of the things I do remember, and any athlete who's listening to me now who's ever competed at an event like this and the Drake Relays, you come here and sometimes you're doing double shift and double duty. You're not necessarily just doing your one event. You're doing others that aren't necessarily, your forte. You're doing a relay. You're doing an individual 200. Then you're doing the 100. And the hardest thing is staying sharp mentally. So these guys are starting their campaign on the track today, but there's still lots more running left to do. And this will set the tone for them.
And it is now 7 together in that pack, with Minnesota and Wisconsin shoulder to shoulder in the lead. Illinois State running in 3rd. But everybody right there, anybody could take that lead with one big surge.
And speaking of surge,
there goes Wisconsin. On Wisconsin to the lead. Oh, and we got some fireworks back in the pack as well, as DePaul now starting to challenge on the outside, and Eastern Michigan responding with him. DePaul in the black, Eastern Michigan in the green and gold. But out in front, it's Wisconsin in the lead for the first time. They've been on the shoulder of the lead, but they are alone in the lead. And Minnesota charging back up. Minnesota regains the lead. Wisconsin struggling now. Eastern Michigan to the front. And the Billikens of St. Louis University now battling in second. That was the team in the white over blue. That leg just under 4:13 for Eastern Michigan. So it's Eastern Michigan, it is Minnesota, it is St. Louis University, and then 4 teams bunched together giving chase to them. So it's still that 7 that were together before, but now they're beginning to be strung out. In fact, now single file. Eastern Michigan with a quicker start than what we've seen here on this leg.
Yeah, and hats off to their last runner. I saw him put his little head down and flap his arms and really get that stick out there first. The common denominator here, though, for me has to be Minnesota. Of all the athletes or the teams that we've named, they are a constant here. So I'm liking their chances. I want to see what this runner from Eastern Michigan has up his sleeve, because I think he has something for us.
He is running confidently right now, and that goes a long way when you have the lead. He is not giving off any signal to the people behind him that he can be caught.
That's right, and that's what you tell them. Body language says a lot. Where you think you are says a lot about how much you push or whether you relaxed. He snuck a little sneak there. Did you see him look a little
Just
bit?
A little peek. Some of them are using the scoreboard if the shot happens to be right as they come down into
Yeah.
turn 3, they look up at the scoreboard to see who's behind them to try to judge, and the less experienced in them slow down while they're doing that.
That is such an advantage. I mean, I was a sprinter, so in sprinting, you run 12 seconds, 9 seconds. You're not looking at anything but the finish line, but it's such an advantage to be able to do that. See where you are in relation to everybody else without necessarily slowing down.
So Eastern Michigan is inching away with Minnesota in second, with St. Louis University in third.
You'll see their teammates on the sidelines yelling, bolstering them on. You can do it. Go on. That to me is always the best part of all of this. An angry voice telling you better do it.
And now that group catching up to St. Louis in third, so that will be a large group. Still by themselves in second is Minnesota, and out in front on your screen, Eastern Michigan. So far out in front that it's hard to squeeze anyone else in. They're potentially blowing it open here on this leg.
That's right. A little bit unorthodox stride here. Kind of seems that he doesn't get a full stride with his knees. His knees aren't super high, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But who cares? He's out in front. Doesn't look like he's going to slow down, but has a very, very distinct stride pattern.
He sure does. He's turning over quickly with that stride. Seems to just have that natural forward lean in his stride.
Yes.
It's almost like he's running downhill all the time.
And what I love about our sport is everybody has their own way that they compete. The little idiosyncrasies, the flick of their leg or their arm or the bobbing of their head that coaches don't always need to coach out of you. That's just the way your body was built and made. Sometimes it's okay to not be the prototype and compete or race a little bit unorthodox.
Are you referring to someone like, say, Michael Johnson, perhaps?
Or Paula Radcliffe?
Yes.
Yes, the list goes on.
Yep, some of the very best had their own way of doing things.
There you go.
Wisconsin into second and starting to close the gap on our leaders, Eastern Michigan. Nebraska battling with Wisconsin. Nebraska now into second. And Nebraska looking like he is going to bust all the way to the front.
And he does.
He takes a quick look back and finds Minnesota on his outside, Eastern Michigan on his inside. It's the three of them. Wisconsin, Nebraska, Eastern Michigan. Illinois State and the Golden Gophers now moving up into fourth.
So many different, things in these coaches' bags of tricks. Where have you put your star athletes or your strongest leg? Is it in this anchor right now? Or have you buried them somewhere else to give you a bit of a lead? So I think this last leg is going to tell us a lot. But we're back almost where we started. This really, really close race. Pack of 4 or 5, too close to call.
Wisconsin and Nebraska, Eastern Michigan, Minnesota cruising along there. Minnesota looking very relaxed. Illinois State working hard to stay with him. Minnesota seeming very content to be the hunter right now.
Yes.
Not interested in engaging that pack, but not letting them get out of his reach.
No, and that tells me he knows something we don't know and they don't know. That's kind of where I'm thinking. Mm-hmm. He's going to wait for a couple laps and show us what he has. But look, no clear leader, no clear huge advantage like we saw in the women's race, which makes this to me the more intriguing of the races.
So it is Wisconsin. Joe Hardy, the former Seattle Prep All-American, running well for Wisconsin, and he put them into the lead. Nebraska with more red on the jersey there, running in second, Eastern Michigan. And those Golden Gophers, they're not going away. And Illinois State sort of with his own marching band sort of style there. He has a very different stride, but look at him. He's right in the mix. He could be the one to bust free and win this.
That's right. I love distance running. I love to watch it. I love to watch the different styles and strides. You know, every athlete has their own distinct cadence and their way of doing things. It's one of the hallmarks of our sport. I really enjoy it. It's not an easy thing to do or to do well, so hats off to these gentlemen.
Minnesota engaged the pack. Eastern Michigan was the one to feel his presence. Immediately, Eastern Michigan surged and is now on the shoulder of Wisconsin. They are in second, Nebraska in third, Minnesota in fourth. Eastern Michigan may be the only one that realizes that that's the Minnesota anchor right there right now.
Who's playing possum, are you saying?
That's exactly it. He's waiting for his moment. Whether or not he can capitalize on that moment will yet to be seen, but he's waiting.
And best believe coaches and athletes have talked about all these scenarios. Everything that we're watching on display has been talked about. If this happens, go here, do that. And they just have to execute. And hopefully your execution is good enough for gold.
Eastern Michigan has taken the lead. They are not content to wait for a sprint at the end. They're trying to get away now. Wisconsin responds in second. Minnesota has just been hanging with everybody. They're still there, as is Nebraska on the anchor. Or on the fourth part of that lead. They're all anchor runners out there. And with 200 to go, Wisconsin goes to the outside and regains the lead. Nebraska sees that and puts on a surge. Nebraska going to the outside. Wisconsin for the win. Eastern Michigan, Nebraska, and Minnesota. Minnesota waiting for that opportunity. Didn't get it as the other runners surged.
Didn't quite get there. No, not at all. But look at that. It came down to the final 200 meters, right? What he had left there. And Wisconsin timed it right. 2016 Drake Relays champion.
Fabulous race once again. What excitement. It'll be fun to go back and watch that video on USATF.tv and count the number of lead changes just to see, because it was quite the race. And it was